Yo, what's up, guys? The Insane Game Freak here to bring you Astarotte Toy episode 12 review. This is the last episode, so obviously you're gonna get my final thoughts on the series and how I feel about it. But that's just so you know, this is probably gonna be a long video, so that's a warning in itself. But anyways, let's get into the review and just talk about the episode. Then I'm gonna talk about the series as a whole. So essentially, the episode kind of starts off with the date, with Nalia and Latte going on the date, and it's also has Asaha at home, and her mom comes to spend some quality time with her. Now, mind you, through these two experiences, they still can't understand each other due to the whole distortion and magic and whatnot from the tree. So essentially, what happens is you have these two events going on, and they can't understand each other, but it's still emotional because they're still connecting. And it's actually kind of crazy. They actually start linking, especially Latte and Nalia's, which I think is just more of a merit towards their relationship and their bonding and how much they've grown with each other. And pretty much they both confess to each other, even though neither one of them can understand the other. And what I mean by that is they both say, "I love you," but the other one doesn't get it, which I think is even funnier. They're really just connecting through facial expressions. I mean, fuck. But yeah, that's essentially what happens in the first part, and after that point, they essentially go back to the human realm and live out their lives while having lingering thoughts about the monster realm and everyone they've had friends with and the family they've created and whatnot. There's also a point in the episode where essentially what happens is they find a way to patch because remember that whole remember us by gift that Asaha gave Latte, which was full of stuff that they had. Well, one of the things in there was Nalia's cell phone. So Annie, being the smart little bunny girl, managed to rewire it and be able to communicate with them from the world of man. And that's where they got the reassurance that everyone was okay. And then on top of, knowing everyone's okay, we find out that whole bite on her arm, that whole red mark on her arm is actually a bug bite. Which I thought was pretty funny because they actually reenacted the scene, and it's actually really funny. And Judith got punished because of it, because of her mistake in thinking it was something that was harming her. So essentially, everything's fine. Everything went back to normal. The tree turned back to the right color, and everything was fine. And that's essentially how that goes. And then pretty much the end of the episode is essentially a little bit later. They don't really explicitly say how long later, but it's been a little bit later. Annie figured out a way to make the magic bounce stay stable while being able to open the gate to different worlds. So essentially, what happened there was Nalia and Asaha got to go back, got to reunite with Latte and everything, and essentially the series ends with them reuniting. Honestly, now the one thing that they don't explicitly say in the episode, but you can obviously see if you watch the clips closely enough. How do I put this? If you look at Latte close enough, you actually do see the mark on her back. And it's not the little clover mark from the book bite. It's actually the heart mark that Matilda explained, which bugged the shit out of me for multiple reasons. But obviously it's the end of the series, so it didn't really matter. Season 2, if there is one, I'm not totally sure I even want one, honestly. I honestly think it's better as a Season 1. I'm not saying they couldn't do a Season 2. I just think it's better as a Season 1. But that's essentially the episode. And it was a pretty good episode. But let me just go into my whole thoughts about the series. Me, personally, I didn't enjoy the last episode as much as other people probably did. Okay, I'll put it this way. If you were a Nalia X Latte fan, you enjoyed the hell out of the episode. If you were a Nalia X Mercelda fan, it kind of didn't... It wasn't as good. And see, the way I'm going to do this is that me personally, I'm not as big of a fan of the series as probably other people are. But I still like the series, and I still give the series its respects. The only thing that really bugged me was because me personally, you can see throughout the entirety of my reviews, I kind of wanted Nadia to end up with Griselda, considering all that little back information we got about her and him a while ago. So it kind of like the whole point where he says "I love you" to Lotte, and I'm they hinted it throughout the last few episodes, so it wasn't shocking. But it was kind of disappointing because I kind of wish they had taken it the other way. There were multiple routes this show could have taken around the last, like, 3 or 4 episodes. But they decided to go with the obvious one. So if you go in the series liking the idea of Lotte and Nadia getting together, even though there's a huge issue with it in terms of age and other things, mind you, then you're going to like the ending. But if you went into there knowing some of the stuff like I did, where I knew a little, like I watched the first episode, didn't know anything, learned the stuff about his mom, and then I got more interested because I was hoping the show would kind of differentiate and not do the obvious pairing and do the one that would make more sense. But it didn't do that. But it's still a good show. Now, me personally, if people were to ask me which half did I prefer more, I prefer the first half, because it's not like the whole Nadia Lotte interaction was unnecessary, and it was horrible. It was necessary for 2 different levels. The first half of it was on the level of just coming to terms with boys and dealing with her own emotional issues, where the second half was more on a relationship vibe. I prefer the first half for multiple reasons. I like the whole issue with the backstories and learning about Mercelda. I like that more, but that doesn't mean I don't like the other episodes. It just means, me personally, considering I didn't really think that Lotte and Nadia would get together in that way, the second half I didn't enjoy as much, purely kind of based upon that. Because this is one thing people don't know about romances or shoujos. If you don't like the overall relationship at the end of the series, your enjoyment of the series kind of goes down, considering everything builds up to it. A good example for this, for me personally, besides this show, is Toradora. Because Toradora, I like the show, but I don't like it as much because I don't like the fact that Ryuji ends up with Taiga at the end of it. And I think that has something to do with me either not liking the female character or thinking the female character shouldn't have ended up with that particular male character. I feel like this show is probably the most surprising of any of the 2011. It's probably gonna be one of the top underrated shows, mainly due to the fact that it's a show that isn't bad. It's a show that got a lot of slack because of its premise. And yeah, the premise bugs the shit out of you at a lot of points in the series, actually. But it's never to the point where you're just like, fuck it. It's never like to the angry point of it. Like, even though I don't like the fact that the show essentially is telling us that it's going to end up with, because the maturity mark is on her back. They don't show it to us explicitly. But if you look at her back in certain scenes in like the last 3 or 4 minutes of the episode, you see it. You see the damn heart-shaped mark, which kind of pretty much hints that she's gonna fuck Naya and become an adult that way. That's what it hints. Now, mind you, that's not what may actually happen, but that's what it hints. I'm slightly curious to read the manga, but at the same time, I'm not, because it might ruin the slight enjoyment I do have for this series. I think the music is well done. I think the atmosphere is well done. I think the show itself is really well done. Just me personally, I hate when animes do this. A lot of animes have been doing this a lot, where they have secondary characters that it would make more sense for the main character to get with, but they always seem to have the main character get with the character that it just logically doesn't make sense. And I think that's because of the whole love aspect, and that for whatever reason, people like the more straightforward relationships, which really irk the shit out of me. Because at the beginning of the series, it's kind of blatantly seen that, eventually those 2 will get together. Even in the opening hints at like a motherfucker. The same thing with Toradora. Even though Toradora's premise is different, it's still hinted like a motherfucker in the opening. The opening hits the shit out of it. It's like, oh, Taiga and Ryuji are together, but they both like different people. But it's obvious that, they're going to get together. And it kind of plays out to that fandom. I think if you don't like the relationship at the end, you're not going to enjoy the series as much. And I looked at the written review, and Chris gave this episode a B plus, and I can see why. I just didn't enjoy it as much, mainly because the irony is that when Annie fixed the thing and allowed Nalia and them to repass through it, Mercelda cut the rope, and they flew off on the dragon and headed towards the princess. And I was like, "Fuck!" And I already knew. And I knew at this point, I already accepted that. I accepted that when he said, "I love you." I accepted the whole fact that that first pairing probably wasn't gonna happen. I also felt like Annie's purpose is logical, but at the same time, I kind of wonder why you even had her fall in love with Nalia for no reason. Because they don't do anything with it. The same thing with Mercelda. They do something with Mercelda at the beginning and then kind of just say fuck her after a point. And I felt like, in the me personally, I probably would have enjoyed the series more if they'd used these secondary love interests way more. Like for Siguro, I wouldn't have been as pissed off if Siguro had got with Latte personally. And I believe because Siguro's not that much older than Latte. Like it wouldn't have bugged me if she got with Latte. And it wouldn't have bugged me at all, honestly. I would have preferred, actually, if Nai had got with Mercelda. Because the one thing that still needs to be addressed is, the whole Mercelda already also has your half-sister, Latte, and, your mother's already fucked your boyfriend. That's, obviously we're probably not going to even bring that up, which they really need to, and to actually address it. But then again, it just go back and reassure Nia ex Latte, and I'm not really in the mood for that. No, I'm not saying I hate the show. I'm just saying I didn't really like that whole relationship ending of it. The show itself is fine. I enjoyed the comedy. It was funny to watch. It was charming. I think that was the main tagline for the show. It's really charming and it is cute. It doesn't try to be overly sexy, even though it obviously could, but it doesn't try to. It's for the most part, it's very charming. It's very cute. I don't know how to put it. It's not a show that would piss you off purely because of the interaction of the characters. It pisses you off. The only two things that may piss you off about this show is the premise and the relationships at the end of it. Because that's how it was. It's like I didn't hate the show. Like I don't hate the show, but I don't like the ending of it, mainly because I would prefer her to get with. I would prefer Latte to get with Siguro, because I don't hate Siguro as a character, and I would prefer the Mercelda thing. But it's a good show. It's obviously not for everyone. Obviously, I mean the show kind of discriminates itself from any normal anime fans liking just because of its premise. And on top of the premise, the show's just not bad, but it depends on how much you give a damn about going into a really, really offsetting series with an open mind. And it all depends. And I will say this is probably this is probably going to be one of the most underrated series in terms of spring of 2011 and animes. And I will also say that it's a pure cut example of not judging a book by its cover. And ironically, it would have even been more reinforced if it didn't have the obvious relationship ending. But then again, whatever. It seems like a lot of people actually wanted that to happen. Like I was looking at the comments on the episode because Crunchyroll has that whole thing where you look at the comments, and I'm looking. A lot of people wanted. A lot of people wanted. From what it looks like, a lot of people wanted that kiss scene. Also, the kiss scene that happens with Nalia and Latte to be on the lips. And I'm looking at some of these right now, and a lot of people preferred it. A lot of people are asking for a season 2. I don't even know. I don't even know I want a season 2. It's debatable, honestly. Like, you can do a season 2, but I feel like the season 2 I probably wouldn't like as much. I really probably wouldn't like as much. Mainly because it would just be reinforcing a pairing that I'm not even a huge fan of. And that's probably why I would say I wouldn't like a season 2. But then again, that's not fair to the fans who do like that pairing. But that's just my opinion. I would prefer. It would have made more sense if he didn't do it with Mercelda. But once again, I'm not going to hold the series to flack for that because they had the options. And I feel the way, even though they went this route, they delivered it well. And I enjoyed it still. Like, I don't hate. It wasn't like Toradora where it just blatantly pissed me off. And there's a video I actually recorded about that, but I'm not gonna actually probably upload that because that was a really angry video. I was really annoyed. I was really fucking annoyed by that actually. I did not like the fact that they said that's how they did it. But with this series, at least it was straightforward and didn't try to bullshit me and go, oh no, he might like Marcella or he might like any. Now they didn't have Naya act that way. He barely acted. He acted indifferent towards all three girls. But you could tell, but it didn't shock you that he ended up saying he loved Lotte, but whatever. I'm kind of just repeating myself at this point. This video's gone on for like 15 minutes. So, in a nutshell, this is a good series. I think people who said it was horrible didn't give it a chance and didn't watch it and didn't try to enjoy the characters, and it was enjoyable. I didn't like that. I don't like the fact that he ends up with Lotte at the end of it, but you know. It's anime. You gotta learn not to take this shit as seriously sometimes. Like I tried to, but that just shows how much I invested in the series. Right? When I actually give a damn about, like I actually gave a damn about him ending up with Lotte. So I guess that shows another thing for the show's merit. But in all, on a real overall, a non-biased rating, it's a B plus. The entire series, I would give a B plus. It's definitely it's not an A because of obvious reasons, and it's not a C because of obvious reasons. So I give it a B. So it's I mean, if we're not even doing the B plus C minus crap because that actually does not help. It's a solid B. Me personally, I would take B plus. But it's a solid B. Now me personally, if we want to go with the biasly, I probably would say B minus just because I didn't like that. But I mean, fuck, I love the characters. Almost all the characters were cool. All the characters were cool for the most part. Actually, yeah. Even Siguro, even though I don't like Siguro that much, he's still a cool character. I still enjoyed him as a character. But I'm going to stop talking and just post your thoughts and your comments in the comment section below. These have been fun reviews. I've enjoyed these a lot. But they got to go because this is the last episode. For anyone looking for season 2, yay. If not, it's all good because the series was still enjoyable anyways. So, with all that being said, Life Seed, life's a gameplay to win. This has been the Insane Game Freak. Peace.